Welcome to part 4 of our journey. In this video, we'll see some really cool icebergs, take a cruise through the Lemaire Channel, take a dip in some really cold water, and kayak over ice. This is Kinny and JJ go all the way to the Antarctica Peninsula. We're now 9 days into our overall trip. If you need to catch up on what happened until this point, please check out some of our other videos linked up at the top. Welcome to Borgan Bay. I want to take a quick pause to talk about the weather. While we were in Antarctica, it was actually during their summertime, where temperatures are usually between 35 degrees Fahrenheit and 28 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's not as cold as you would think it would be. However, when you're on the water and the wind is blowing, it can actually feel a lot colder. Our stop at Borgan Bay was one of the coldest days we've had in Antarctica so far, clocking in at -1 degree Celsius. This shot is a great example of what people typically wear on disembarkations. You have some kind of eye protection, a hat, a hood, a neck gaiter, and gloves. And then you have people like John. This is how he dressed pretty much the entire trip. So everybody's cold tolerance is different, as you can tell. Borgan Bay was one of my favorite stops because of all the wildlife that we saw. But to level set expectations, while whales are popping up all around us and seals are on the icebergs, it's not the easiest to actually get photos or videos. I had this dream that a whale would be just hanging out on the surface and we would get to get up really close to it, but in reality, they come up for air in a split second and then they go back down, so it's really difficult to actually capture. Lucky for me, icebergs are really slow, or they're grounded. So I was able to actually get a lot of video and really cool photos of all of the icebergs around. It's truly unbelievable how clear the water is and how far down you can actually see the icebergs. After exploring Borgan Bay, we went back to the ship and got in our hot tub in the snow to warm up while our ship moved to our next location, which was our planned kayaking excursion in Paradise Bay. To participate in a kayaking excursion is an additional $250 per person, and you've got to be under a certain height limit and weight limit. Additionally, you've got to be agile enough to be able to get from the Zodiac into the kayak. But don't worry, the guides help you by holding the kayak for you. Here we're learning about the ecosystem of Paradise Bay.
And the fish, and that attract the birds, and also the seals. No, it's like a chain.
It was so quiet and peaceful, and there was the sound of one seal calling in the distance somewhere, so our guides took us on a trip to try to find it. And we did! This is another moment that I want to level set. You don't actually get up really close to the seals because they are wild, so you want to make sure you have some kind of camera that can zoom in to get a picture. So after our kayaking trip, we had time to go back and get warm because I was definitely cold. Our next disembarkation was the next day at Hidden Bay. I love this picture because you can see how small the Zodiacs are compared to the icebergs and the mountain behind. Hidden Bay was gorgeous, and it looked completely different from all the different angles of the boat. It was like everywhere you looked you saw something new, like this seal that we saw from her balcony. It was another -degree Celsius day, so I made sure to bundle up before we went out exploring. And the seal that we saw from our balcony, well, we pointed it out to our Zodiac guide, and they went over to it so everybody could take a picture. And just around the corner was another sleeping seal. After finding all the seals, we just rode around through the ice, looking at the beautiful landscape and seeing some crazy icebergs. This was the perfect opportunity for us to finally get a chance to see an iceberg below the water. and drive over ice above the water. After finishing up our time at Hidden Bay, our ship took a scenic cruise through the Lemaire Channel. The Lemaire Channel is one of the most popular scenic cruising areas in Antarctica. With the right conditions, you can get some amazing photos. What's unique about this channel is that it's deep enough for a ship like ours to pass through, but it's so narrow that the captain has to carefully navigate the ship not to hit any icebergs. This is how close we were to icebergs and to the land that was beside us. The Lemaire Channel is also known for whale watching, and it did not disappoint. We saw a few humpback whales here. The Lemaire Channel led us to Port Shco. Port Shco was named by Jean-Baptiste Shco in honor of his father. Jean-Baptiste led an expedition team here in the early 1900s for magnetics and astronomical observations. We knew this would be our last stop with a colony of penguins, so we did a lot of penguin watching on this disembarkation. Here's some of my favorite videos. After leaving Port Shco, we had a long journey to get to our next stop, Deception Island. Because it was Christmas Eve night, I decided to stay up to see if I could find Santa. And while I didn't see Santa, I did get to see sunset at 1 a.m. and sunrise at 2 a.m. We arrived at Deception Island mid-morning. What's so special about Deception Island? Well, it's the caldera of an active volcano. There's only 2 active volcanoes that you can sail into the whole world. That's Deception Island and Santorini, Greece.
Form what we call a mega breccia. Sitting on top of the mega breccia are the caldera forming deposits. They form orange layers about 100 meters thick that can be seen from many areas as we get inside the caldera.
Lo and behold, when we got inside the caldera, I finally found Santa. Which was nice because it got my mind off of what was next to come. Jumping into freezing water was not my idea of fun, but John really wanted to do it, so I went along. You can check out the video of our whole Polar Plunge experience through the link below. Here it is from a different angle.
Hold on to the camera! Thinks it's cold. Look at it.
Why, yes, Mike, it was very cold, and I was definitely freezing. But then look at John. He gets out like it's nothing. It's like just another dive in a regular pool. But we did it. I didn't die, and actually it was pretty warm after I got out of the cold water. We got dried off and geared up for our last disembarkation on Deception Island. Because this is an active volcano, if you dig down in the rocks a few inches, you'll find that it's warm. And even though this is not ideal living situations for the animals here, we did find a few penguins, some gentoo and some chinstrap. And where there's penguins, there's also skuas. The last eruption on Deception Island was 1970, when it was a scientific station. In the early 1900s, Deception Island was a whale processing station, and the equipment that was left behind was later covered by mud flows from the eruptions. As you're walking around, you can also see all the whale bones left behind from the whale processing station. Because this is an active volcano, we did have to go through a safety briefing to understand where we would need to go in the event that there was an eruption. It was bittersweet going back to the boat, checking in for our last time. We would still have 2 more days at sea to get back to Ushuaia and then go back to Buenos Aires, but it just seems like it was just yesterday we left. But we have all of these memories to look back on, and we can't wait to make more with you. Tune in later for one final video where John and I will talk about our entire experience.